Hi, my name is Ali Murdoch, and this is how I became a manager. Okay, so first it started by me working hard. I've worked hard my whole life. I've set lots of goals. I've been working since I was 14 years old. I didn't just start off as a manager. I just kind of gradually worked my way up. I started at a very low end job. I just worked at an amusement park. I started really just connecting with people. I worked a lot of places that was able to really let me grow as a person, and I really was able to excel at each place that I worked, and I was acknowledged by each place that I worked, whether it was my first job at amusement park or it was when I was working in retail, when I was working as a server and I became one of the best servers, or when I was working at Target and I became one of the best shoppers. I really just excelled everywhere that I went, and I was acknowledged by management, and that actually helped me build a representation of who I am, because I could then put that on my resume and that was seen by others. So about a year or two ago, I moved to Florida and I started working at the Ritz-Carlton in Naples. There I was able to, I started at a very low end point at the Ritz-Carlton. I started as just a simple hostess, but I worked very hard as a hostess, and I was made it very well known of who I am as a person and how hard I am as a worker. The restaurant that I worked at was named Nolita that I worked for. So I continued my job at the Ritz, and I worked as a hostess, and I worked many hours every single day. I didn't just work at the restaurant Nolita that I would work at in the morning. I would work at recreation. I'd work with kids. I would work at the coffee shop. It was called Mocha. I helped out in almost every department that I could even get my foot in the door. I even did in-room dining for a few nights, and sometimes I do 17-hour days, just so I could make myself well known. Making connections. So by me working as hard as I did, I was seen by managers of so many different departments. So I would be seen working breakfast shifts at Nolita, and then I would be seen changing my uniform, and I would be working Mocha, and then I would change my uniform again and I would work another department. And managers started to recognize me, whether they were directly in that department or not. They would see me as the hard worker that I am, and I would begin to be acknowledged. And we have a reward system in the Ritz-Carlton where every Fridays you were acknowledged, and I was acknowledged on multiple occasions by the general manager who worked for two Ritz-Carltons, and he oversaw both of those, and he ended up knowing me by name, and that was a big accomplishment for me, especially where, I was just a hostess at my original place, but I was able to be acknowledged, and they would come into my restaurant and they'd say, oh, where are you going to be working tonight, just to see where I was working. I just started building really good connections and just being seen by so many different people. So then the opportunity arrived. A couple months into working around the hotel, my manager sought me out for a position as a learning coach. So basically that would entail I would train other hostesses, I would train other servers, bussers. I would train really anyone that was new. I'd get them all set up with HR. So my manager would basically hire them. I'd make sure that they know the ins and outs of the hotel. They would know all of their information that they needed to know. I'd get them to sign all the paperwork that was needed of them. Basically anything that was necessary for them to continue doing their job at the Ritz-Carlton, I was in charge of when they would enter Nolita. I spent a lot of time with HR, with paperwork, and really just making myself well known again for the hard worker I am. Spending lots of hours with other people and showing them just the dedication I have to my job and who I am as a person. And especially where HR already knew me from my multiple jobs around the hotel, because they would see me working a lot of different places. It just was a smooth transition to me being a learning coach, and that was just very much recognized by everyone in the hotel that I was capable of the position, especially at my young age. I worked with a lot of people that were older than me, but because of who I was and who I was known for, people recognized me, and I was able to get positions just from who I was, and that just worked out so well. Also, I was able to be a leader of the hostesses. So not only was I learning coach for the department that I was in, I would lead the hostesses. So if anything happened within the hostesses, they'd come to me. I would do all of the seating charts. I would do everything, all of the stuff. It was go get Allie and she'll come help us. So then I started taking the position, and taking the position was a huge growing opportunity for me, because as much as I had already been working alongside a lot of people, I was able to learn so much about who I am and what learning, like, and teaching people was really like. So I was able to teach so many different people so many different aspects about their job. And even though I wasn't a server, a busser, or, you know, even like in the kitchen, I was able to learn that aspect, and I was able to grow a lot. And it ended up making me, you know, if we were short-staffed in a different department, I was able to train my hostesses well enough that they could survive without me for a night, and I could help out in other departments. And I was looked upon as, Allie's going to come help this department because we need her to, and she's going to be able to do it very well. And I was just very knowledgeable in all the departments because I was able to be seen as my teamworking abilities. So working in my role as a learning coach, I was able to grow just, again, so much with so many different people. And I was acknowledged again by, even though I wasn't in these places, people would see me and just look up to me. And a lot of people would come and be like, oh, she's just a hostess. And then they would see me in my role, and I had someone who had worked in this kind of field for 40 years, and they looked at me and said, she's going to be successful. And I looked highly upon my manager, and they would tell her, you know, she's going to be successful because you can see the hardworking skill she has in her life. And it was just very acknowledged, especially when I stepped into that role, how well I did as, like, just working hard just paid off. You know, my 15-hour days at, like, the beginning of working paid off because now I was able to see it as a learning coach. Okay, so after being a learning coach, so for months I loved it. I did it for just a few months, and it was absolutely incredible experience. I got to learn just, again, so much. But then the opportunity arrives to move back here in Utah, and I couldn't pass it up because this is where my family is, and this is where just I love to be. And I had to take that opportunity, and I had to say goodbye to the Ritz-Carlton of Naples. And as much as I still miss it so much to stay, it then opened another couple sets of doors because I was able to be seen on my resume who I was as a person and take it over here to Utah, which they don't have a lot of these fields over here, and it was definitely a big highlight. So living in Utah, it felt like I was starting over almost. As much as I did have a great resume, it did feel like I was starting over, but because of what I had done, I was able to start as a manager at Down East. So I just applied. I hadn't worked retail since I was 15, and even then I only worked there a few months, but I was my manager, I still work there today. She talks about one thing that led me to get hired was my role at the Ritz-Carlton, and she saw that on my resume, and she said even though she doesn't know retail, she doesn't know clothes, she knows how to work. She knows how to work hard, and she knows how to lead. And it was very obvious that when I applied for the job, it was a quick hire because of just how hard I worked. So Down East. So now that I'm working as a manager, I can take what I learned as a learning coach at the Ritz-Carlton and everything that I learned from past experiences, from setting goals at Target and just working with people when I was a server, and just working with so many different people and learning so many different things. I applied that to being a manager now, and I set goals for my team members. I can talk to people and I can ask them to do stuff for me. And even though I'm a very young manager at Down East, I'm seen as a strong leader because of my roles that I've played throughout my life and throughout what I've done. And I've even talked to people that are older than me, and they're one of my associates, and they've said, oh, you're only 20 years old. I'm surprised because of just the way you perceive yourself and the way, you can tell that you're a hard worker and the roles you've played in your life and what you've done. I've just been able to have so much experience. So the point to the story is basically working hard goes really far. If you continue to work hard at something, I can 100% guarantee that you'll be able to achieve majority of what you set your mind to, because hard working does pay off, and it is acknowledged. When I was working as a hostess, it felt like it wasn't paying off. I was just working hours just to make, just to make money and just to be seen. And because I already had the hardworking skills in me, it was just shown. So even though it was just a simple, oh, I'm just going to pick up more hours, I'm just going to do more, a lot of people don't do that. And it was seen that I'm a hard worker, even though I was just living my life. If you continue to climb the ladders of trying to be hard worker and trying to keep going and just putting one step after the other, you'll make it, and you can do it. You just have to keep working. It's not about, oh, I'm just going to become a manager, I'm just going to apply for this job and I'm going to get it. That's not how that works. You have to really show that you want it, and that is something that I have worked hard for, and that's something that I have achieved. Thank you.